Bilingualism, equity, interactions, and involvement. Now, when we talk about equity in bilingual programs, please take care that it can take several forms, but we are now looking at how in the social practices, that is specifically in interactions and involvement of the students, how can equity be represented? So we look at social justice and equity, and we need to remember that a language itself and even the content is all embedded in a political scenario. That is, no language is value free, no knowledge is value free. And when we want to sort of bring in the principle of equity, we want to not only just understand the power dynamics across languages, across different contents, but we also want to address those power differences, and those power differences have to be sort of challenged in this kind of bilingual education program. So what we present to the students, a language that we use, or the language of instruction and the supportive language, however we decide or make our choice, we need to make sure that these are non-threatening to the students' identities. So this would mean that essentially the knowledge and the language has to connect with the home languages of the students. Even if only 2 languages have been chosen, even certain specific knowledge structures have been chosen, a discussion and invitation of the students' language, students' home culture, home knowledge has to be brought into the classroom if we are to bring in equity, because then we are saying that all knowledge matters. Everyone's knowing matters, no matter who they are. So this is a pedagogy that is culturally responsive and linguistically responsive. That is, it understands the cultural needs of the learners. It also understands the linguistic needs of the learners and responds to those needs, understanding and response. So when we talk about social justice and equity, it also means that the classroom should provide equal opportunities to all to participate. For instance, if we are using this immersion program and certain children are not yet proficient to talk about content in a specific language or ask questions in a given specific language, then essentially their opportunity to participate is curtailed. And this is an issue that equity raises. This is a learning environment that is essentially collaborative, where people connect with each other, whether it is the teacher or the student, or students and other peers. They connect with each other, they scaffold each other's learning rather than being in competition with each other and looking down upon each other. This is again important to remember, that it is not just about equity of time, that you think, all right, I'll bring in these 2 languages and I'll give equal time to both those languages within the curriculum. I'll divide the subjects equally. But it is actually understanding the power dynamics. For instance, if the subjects allocated to minority language are subjects that are not important in the curriculum, for instance, then we cannot restore the value of the language in which they are being taught. It is important to see that bilingual children are not lesser intelligent than monolinguals, and this means not to track them in vocational programs, not to look down upon them and just see that bilingual education would mean that it is as if the students have lesser ability, and that is why they are in a bilingual education program and they need to be tracked to vocational education if that is not the intention of the students. One way to do it, one form of doing it is through collaborative descriptive inquiry. What is this collaborative descriptive inquiry? For instance, if a text is introduced, then the teacher encourages all the students to give their opinion about the text. They go through it, each one of them asks certain specific questions. They make certain comments about the meaning of the text. The teacher goes around but does not really respond to them, and she allows the learners to collectively construct the knowledge within the classroom and base it on a shared understanding rather, and it is all yet discipline. That is, it all follows a process, and eventually when some sort of shared understanding is arrived at, then we collect and discuss together as facilitator. The teacher acts as a facilitator, and then they discuss the content. So social practices and interactions, if they are based on social equity, should be meaningful and not scripted. That is, teachers should mean what they are saying and not just use scripted language just because they want to ensure that they are simplifying a language, because social construction of meaning leads to content learning also and language learning also. Social construction is discussion within the content, discussion among children or between teacher and students can lead to learning. So remember, this is different from the IRE pattern. Initiation, response, evaluation, that is, the teacher asks a question, that the learner responds to it, and then the teacher again evaluates it. When we talk about instructional conversations, they are essentially, it's an art, it's a science that is that leads the learners to think more deeply. You keep on asking more extensive questions, and you lead one thing to the other, and you don't give your evaluations too soon. There are 3 steps within this. You start with open-ended question, you slow down the dialogue, you increase the wait time, and you respond to what the learners are saying by actually listening to what they want to know.